The blood moon does not rise for humans. Everyone in the kingdom of Ashveil knows this. It is not mythology, not superstition, not the kind of story mothers tell to keep children indoors at night. It is documented fact, written in the Voss Codex 3 centuries ago by the first Alpha Lord who watched it happen and had the presence of mind to record it before the memory of the night could be rewritten by people who preferred a tidier version of events. The blood moon rises once every generation. It rises for exactly one person, and the person it rises for becomes the Alpha's fated mate, the one the bloodline has been waiting for, the one the ancient pack bond recognizes before either person involved has spoken a single word to each other. It has never, in 400 years of recorded history, risen for anyone who was not Wolfborn. Awas until tonight. Sera is in the market when it begins. She is not doing anything significant. She is carrying a basket of late autumn herbs for the apothecary on the east side of the village, walking the route she has walked every Thursday evening for 3 years, thinking about whether she remembered to bank the fire before she left and absolutely nothing else. She is 20 years old. She has no family name worth mentioning. She works for the apothecary, sleeps in the small room behind the shop, and has spent her entire life being the kind of person that crowds part around without noticing they have done it. She is, by every measurable standard, entirely unremarkable. This is what she believes. This is what everyone believes. The blood moon disagrees. It rises at the exact moment Sera passes the center stone of the market square. The ancient marker that has stood in the middle of Ashveil for longer than the village itself, older than the Alpha estate on the hill above, older than the Voss name, older than anyone's ability to explain why it is there or what it is for. The sky turns, not slowly, not the gradual blush of a regular moonrise. The sky turns the way a held breath releases, sudden and complete. The deep blue of early evening replaced in a single heartbeat with a red so dark it is almost black at the edges and burning at the center like something living. The market goes silent. Every Wolfborn in the square stops moving at exactly the same moment. 30, 40 people, merchants, guards, children, all of them frozen mid-step, mid-sentence, mid-breath, and their heads turning upward simultaneously with the involuntary unified movement of creatures responding to something ancient and biological and completely beyond their control. Sera stops too, but not because of the biological pull. She stops because the center stone beneath her left hand, she has reached out without realizing it, the way you reach for a wall when the ground shifts, is warm. Not the residual warmth of a sun-heated surface. Something deeper and more interior than that. Something that is coming from inside the stone. Or from inside her, she cannot tell which. Above the village, on the hill where the Alpha estate rises in dark stone against the burning sky, every light in every window goes out simultaneously. His name is Caine Aldric. He is 28 years old, the Alpha Lord of Ashveil and the surrounding territories. And he has been expecting this night for 4 years. Not this specific configuration of events. Not a human girl in the market, not the center stone, not the particular way the bond is going to arrive. He has not been expecting those details because he did not know those details were possible. What he has been expecting is the moon itself, the way you expect a storm you can feel building in the air for days before it breaks. The pressure of it, the inevitability, the knowledge that something is coming that will change everything, and that all you can do is be standing upright when it arrives. He is standing at the window of the upper study when the sky turns. He feels the bond before he sees the moon. A sensation like a cord pulled taut from somewhere in the center of his chest outward, aiming in a direction that is not quite north or south or any navigable point on a compass, but is, unmistakably, specific. It is pointing somewhere. It has always pointed somewhere. Tonight it is pointing with a precision and urgency that it has never had before, and he understands, in the 2 seconds between feeling the pull and seeing the red sky, that tonight is the night. He looks out the window. He looks at the sky. He looks down at the market square far below, the frozen figures of Wolfborn subjects, the blazing center stone, and at the center of it all, one figure who is not frozen. One figure who is standing with her hand pressed against the stone and her face turned upward, not with the instinctive biological response of a Wolfborn, but with something quieter and more interior. The expression of someone hearing a sound they cannot identify and trying very carefully to place it. He cannot see her face from this distance. He does not need to. The bond is a rope and she is holding the other end of it, and he has been on the wrong side of a locked door for 4 years, and she is the key, and he did not know until this exact moment that the key was going to be human. He leaves the window. He is already moving. The crowd in the market square parts for him the way water parts for something that does not stop. He is tall, a full head above most of the people around him, broad through the shoulders in the way of Wolfborn, who have been carrying the weight of an alpha bloodline since birth. Dark hair and gray eyes, and the particular quality of stillness that very powerful people carry as a default state. He does not run. He does not need to. His pace covers ground at a rate that has nothing to do with visible effort. The Wolfborn in the square drop their eyes as he passes, not from fear, from recognition. The bond is a pack thing, a bloodline thing, a collective biological event that every Wolfborn present can feel radiating from him like heat from a forge. They know what is happening. They have known since the sky turned. They are simply waiting to see who. He reaches the center stone. He stops. She has not moved. Her hand is still pressed flat against the stone, and she is still looking up at the red sky with that particular expression. Not awe, exactly. Not fear. But the focused internal listening of someone whose body is telling them something their mind does not yet have language for. Her dark hair is loose around her shoulders. She is wearing a plain work dress, a market basket dropped and forgotten at her feet, late autumn herbs scattered across the cobblestones. She is, objectively, entirely ordinary. The bond in his chest is a roar. She feels him before she sees him, the way you feel a change in atmospheric pressure before weather arrives. She turns. Their eyes meet. The center stone blazes. The red sky deepens. And Sera, who has spent 20 years being the person no one notices, the person crowds part around without remembering they have done so. The person who was told at 6 years old by a Wolfborn child in the village school that humans do not matter to the pack and believed it for 14 years afterward, feels something in her chest click open like a lock that has been waiting for the right key since before she was born. She does not know what it means. She takes a step back. This is the part of the story where most people would tell you what Caine said. He is the Alpha Lord. He is the one with power and title and 4 centuries of bloodline authority behind him. He is the one who knew the moon was coming. He is the one who felt the bond first. He did not say anything. He looked at her, at this human girl who had just had her entire understanding of what she was detonated by a red sky and a warm stone. And he understood, in a way that his 4 years of preparation had not prepared him for, that the next move was not his. It was never going to be his. The bond chose her. That did not mean she had chosen it. He stepped back. He gave her the square. He went back up the hill. And Sera stood alone in the market with scattered herbs at her feet and a sky the color of old blood above her and a feeling in her chest that had no name yet, and she did not sleep for 3 days. The problems begin at dawn. They always begin at dawn. The practical, political, social problems that follow in the wake of events that were never supposed to happen. The blood moon rising for a human is not just unprecedented. It is, depending on who you ask and how invested they are in the existing order of things, anywhere from theologically impossible to politically catastrophic to personally insulting. The Wolfborn Council convenes before the sun has fully risen. Sera knows this because Petra, the apothecary, her employer, the closest thing she has to a parent, a Wolfborn woman in her late 60s who has never once in 20 years treated Sera as anything less than a full person, comes to the back room before first light and sits on the edge of Sera's narrow bed and takes her hands and says very quietly, "They are going to try to say it did not happen." Sera looks at her. "They cannot say that," she says. "Half the market saw it." "Half the market saw it," Petra agrees. "That is the problem." The council's position, delivered by sunrise through the estate's official messenger, is elegant in its dishonesty. The blood moon behaved unusually last night due to atmospheric conditions not yet fully understood. The Centerstone's response was a geological anomaly. Any perceived bond indication is under investigation. Citizens are asked to remain calm and to refrain from drawing conclusions until the council has had an opportunity to review the full evidence. Sera reads the message twice. She folds it carefully. She puts it on the table. She goes back to work. He comes to the apothecary on the 3rd day, not with a retinue, not with guards, not with any of the formal apparatus of an Alpha Lord making an official visit. He comes alone in the early morning before the shop opens and knocks on the side door the way a person knocks when they are not certain of their welcome. Sera opens it. They look at each other across the threshold. He is less overwhelming at close range than he was across the market square. Or perhaps more overwhelming, she cannot decide which. His gray eyes are doing something she was not expecting. They are uncertain. Not the uncertainty of a man who does not know what he wants. The uncertainty of a man who knows exactly what he wants and is acutely aware that wanting it does not entitle him to it. "I owe you an explanation," he says. "You owe me nothing," Sera says. I don't even know you. I know. A pause. That is part of what I wanted to explain. She looks at him for a long moment. She steps back from the door. She does not invite him in. She simply stops blocking the entrance, which is a different thing, and he understands the difference because he steps inside carefully. But like someone who knows the distinction between a door being opened and a door being opened for them, she puts the kettle on. She does not look at him while she does it. Start from the beginning, she says. He does. He tells her everything. The blood moon, the bond, the Voss Codex, and the 400 years of recorded history. The way it works among Wolfborn, the recognition, the pull, the pack's biological acknowledgement of the fated pair. He tells her what it means for an alpha specifically, what the bond represents in terms of the bloodline and the territory and the pack's stability. He tells her the parts that are certain and the parts that are not. He tells her what he felt when the sky turned and what he saw when he looked down at the market square. He does not tell her what to do with any of it. When he finishes, but the tea has gone cold. Sera is sitting across the small table from him with her hands wrapped around her cup, looking at the middle distance between them. Her expression is the same one he saw in the market square, that focused internal listening, processing, not panicking, thinking. The council says it didn't happen, she says finally. The council is wrong. They have 400 years of records saying it can't happen to a human. They do. And you were telling me it happened anyway. Yes. She is quiet for a moment. Why are you here? She asks, not hostilely, genuinely. You could have let the council's version stand. You could have done nothing. It would have been easier. He looks at her across the table. Because the bond chose you, he says. That means something. And you deserve to know what it means before anyone else got to decide for you whether it happened at all. Sera looks at him. Something in her expression shifts, very slightly, just at the edges, the specific look of a person recalibrating. She picks up her cold tea. She drinks it. Come back tomorrow, she says. I have questions. He comes back the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. This is what Sera learns across 7 mornings at the apothecary table with cold tea and a man who answers every question she asks without flinching. The bond is not a command. It is a recognition. It does not override choice. It illuminates it, the way lamplight illuminates a room that was already there. What is in the room was always in the room. The light only makes it visible. She is not required to accept it. A fated bond refused is painful, genuinely physically painful for both parties, but it does not break either of them. People have refused bonds before. The world continues. He has known since he was 12 years old that his bondmate would arrive under a blood moon, and that until they did, the pack would carry a specific kind of instability. An alpha without a fated mate is a complete alpha, capable and legitimate, but something in the pack's deepest biological architecture knows the circle is not closed. Knows it is waiting. He has been waiting for 4 years since he took the alpha seat. He did not expect a human. He is not, she notices over 7 mornings, behaving like a man who considers that a problem. The council summons her on the 8th day. Not a request. A summons delivered by 2 official messengers in a state livery. Formal and unambiguous. She is to appear before the full Wolfborn council at the estate at the 3rd hour. The subject of the meeting is listed on the summons document as the matter of the atmospheric event of the blood moon and its misinterpretation by certain civilian parties. Petra reads it over her shoulder. You do not have to go, Petra says. Yes, I do, Sera says. Sera, if I don't go, they will decide, in my absence. She folds the summons. I would rather be present for the part where they try to tell me what I did and did not experience. She goes. She wears her work dress. She does not own anything more formal, and she does not borrow anything from anyone because she has decided, clearly, privately, without drama, that she is not going to perform smallness for this room. If she cannot walk into that council chamber as herself, then she is already lost before she opens the door. She walks up the hill to the estate alone. The council chamber is everything the apothecary back room is not. Vaulted stone ceiling, iron chandeliers, a long curved table of dark polished wood at which 11 Wolfborn council members are seated in formal robes. Portraits of previous Alpha Lords line the walls. The room smells of old authority and recent anxiety. At the head of the table, not seated with the council but standing slightly apart to the left in a position that is neither endorsing the proceedings nor absent from them, is Caine. He looks at her when she enters. She looks at him. She sits in the single chair placed opposite the curved table. The chair for the person being addressed. It's positioned so that all 11 faces can look at her simultaneously, She folds her hands in her lap. She waits. The council's lead speaker, an older Wolfborn man with the particular quality of authority that comes from never having been seriously challenged in his own domain, begins. He is thorough. She will give him that. He takes 20 minutes to explain, with considerable eloquence and a great deal of historical citation, why what happened in the market square 8 days ago was not what it appeared to be. Atmospheric interference with the moon's cycle, the center stone's documented sensitivity to lunar events, the well-established tendency of human nervous systems to misinterpret environmental stimuli in high-pressure situations. He finishes. He looks at her with the expression of a man who considers the matter settled. Sera looks back at him. "Which of those explanations," she says, "accounts for the Alpha Lord leaving the estate and crossing the market square toward me before the sky had finished turning?" Silence. Several heads turn toward Caine. Caine's expression does not change. The bond response in an alpha is involuntary and immediate. Sera continues in the same calm, factual tone she uses when explaining to customers which herbs interact badly with which medicines. "You have 400 years of documentation on this. His movement toward me was a biological bond response. You watched it happen. Everyone in this room knows what it means." The lead speaker opens his mouth. "I am not finished," Sera says. He closes it. "I am human. I understand that this is inconvenient. I understand it does not fit the existing documentation. I understand that several people in this room have daughters of Wolfborn blood who expected to be considered for this position and are now reconsidering their futures." She looks along the table slowly, meeting eyes one by one. "None of that changes what happened. The moon rose. The stone responded. The bond activated. These are facts. You can choose not to recognize them officially. That is within your authority. But you cannot make them untrue. And I will not sit in this chair and agree that they are." The room is very quiet. From his position to the left, Caine looks at her with an expression she has not seen on him before. Something that is not surprise exactly, because she has the distinct impression that he does not surprise easily. But is the specific quality of recognition that happens when you discover that what you hoped was true turns out to be true. The eldest council member, a woman in her 80s, silver-haired, who has not spoken yet, makes a sound that might be a laugh. "Where did you find her?" she asks Caine without looking away from Sera. "The market," Caine says. "Obviously," the old woman says. "I mean before that." They do not dissolve the summons cleanly. That is not how councils work. Not Wolfborn ones, not any kind. There is no clean resolution, no formal acknowledgement, no official reversal of the atmospheric interference position. What there is a recess that extends indefinitely. A postponement. A deliberate institutional pause in which no one is required to formally be wrong and nothing is required to formally change, and the matter is simply held. It is not a victory. It is not a defeat. It is the specific outcome of a room full of powerful people encountering an argument they cannot answer and choosing, collectively, to wait and see rather than commit to a losing position. Sera understands this. She walks out of the council chamber and down the long corridor toward the estate's main entrance, and she is almost at the door when she hears footsteps behind her. One set, unhurried, covering ground at that particular rate. She does not turn around. "You prepared for that," Caine says. 7 mornings of questions," she says. "You answered all of them. I used the answers." A pause. You knew they were going to summon you." "I knew they were going to try to decide for me," she says. "I preferred to be there." She reaches the main door. She stops with her hand on the iron handle. "For what it's worth," she says, still not turning, "I believed you. From the second morning. I believed you, and I needed to think about what that meant, and I needed to do it in my own time without anyone, including you, making the decision for me." A longer pause. "I know," he says quietly. "That is why I came back every day and waited." She turns around. He is closer than she expected. Not crowding her, not imposing, but close. His gray eyes are doing the uncertain thing again, except now she understands it better. Knows that it is not weakness, but a deliberate choice to not use what he has. The bond, the authority, and the simple physical fact of what he is, to push. She has spent 20 years being overlooked. He has spent 4 years waiting for someone who has not yet decided. Neither of them has ever been chosen by something and known it was real. "Ask me properly," she says. He holds her gaze. "Will you accept the bond?" he says. "Not because the moon decided. Not because the council is watching. Because you want to." Sera looks at him. She thinks about the center stone and the warmth that came from inside it or from inside her, and how she still cannot tell which. She thinks about 7 mornings and cold tea and every question answered. She thinks about a man who crossed a market square the night the sky turned and then stepped back and gave her the square and went back up the hill and led her decide. Yes, she says. And the door behind her blazes gold at the edges. The bond sealing, the pack-deep recognition completing, 4 centuries of waiting closing like a circle finally joined. She does not look at the door. She looks at him. He looks back. You should know, she says, that I still have questions. I know, he says. I will always have questions. I know, he says. And now something in his expression is doing the thing that is not surprise and is not relief, but is the particular quality of a man standing in a room that has just become the room he has been looking for. Good, he says. 3 things happen in the weeks that follow. The first, the Wolfborn Council formally convenes to review the Voss Codex's documentation on blood moon events. The eldest council member, the silver-haired woman who asked where he found her, leads the review. The conclusion, entered into the official record with considerably less elegance than the original atmospheric interference position, is that the Codex's exclusion of humans from bond eligibility was a documentation gap rather than a biological law. The record is amended. The amendment is 2 sentences. It takes the council 4 weeks to agree on the wording. The second, Petra closes the apothecary for 1 day, the first time in 11 years, and spends the entire day in the back room helping Sera go through what it means to be a human in a Wolfborn world with pack bond implications and a council that is still recalibrating. They drink real tea, hot, and Petra says things she has been holding for 20 years about what she always suspected Sera was. And Sera listens and does not cry, not once. And which Petra says is completely unsurprising and also completely infuriating. The third, on the first morning after the council's amendment is officially recorded, Caine comes to the apothecary side door alone before the shop opens and knocks the way a person knocks when they are not certain of their welcome. Sera opens it. She already has the kettle on. If this story held you, if you felt something in that market square or in that council chamber or at that apothecary table with 2 cups of cold tea, then you already know what to do. Like this video. It tells me this kind of story is worth telling and it puts it in front of the people who need it most. Leave a comment below. Tell me which moment stopped you. Was it the night the sky turned? Was it him stepping back and giving her the square? Was it her walking into that council chamber in her work dress and refusing to perform smallness? Tell me. I read every single one. Subscribe so you never miss a story. New narratives every week. Cursed alphas, fated bonds, and women who were told they were ordinary and turned out to be anything but. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded that being overlooked is not the same as being insignificant. The moon knows the difference. I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay luminous, stay untamed.